Hey Tiger Talk fam! Welcome to our 9th episode of Tiger Talk for Season 4. We're your hosts. I'm Sophia. I'm in the 5th grade.
I am Brayden, and I'm a 4th grader. I'm Gabby. I'm also a 4th grader.
We're East students at John Tyson Elementary School in Springdale, Arkansas.
This year, our school is celebrating its 50th anniversary. So we're going to tell you a year of golden stories. We have invited Tyson Tigers from 1972 through 2022 to join us this season.
Today, we're talking with Mr. C.J. Spear, former student at JTE.
Welcome. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, Mr. Spear.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me on. I suppose to start, if you don't mind, before I talk about myself, I want to mention a couple memories of some of the previous guests you've had on, because I've been listening to your show, and I was at the school with a lot of these guests, if you don't mind. Is that all right?
Yeah. Go
ahead. In your 4th episode, you had Mrs. Civils on, and I was actually at John Tyson Elementary School during her last 2 years, and I loved her music class, and when she was gone, she was sorely missed. And I specifically remember her talking all about these great composers like Mozart and Beethoven. And you might think it's a bit strange to teach 5-year-olds about the great composers like Mozart and Beethoven, but honestly, that's all I remember from that class, and I really enjoyed it. And so I was really excited to hear that you had Mrs. Civils on the show. After that, you guys had Mrs. Mount on the show, which Mrs. Mount is still a teacher there, right?
Yes.
Well, she was a teacher when I was there. I was not in her class, though, but before I ever went to Tyson Elementary School, she was my babysitter when I was just a toddler. Yeah, and
wow.
My earliest memories in life are playing at her house with her 2 kids, Kelsey and Jacob, and she would make these delicious waffles. Oh, I loved those waffles. She was great at that. Anyway, after Mrs. Mount, you guys had on Mrs. Brooks, and she was the librarian for my entire 6 years there. And I have so many memories of my forehead being pressed up against her cheek while she determined whether or not I had a fever. She was really good at that. And she mentioned while she was on the show that her favorite memory of John Tyson was Johnny Appleseed Day. And that's also one of my favorite memories. And when I moved here to Chicago, I found out that nobody celebrates that. So every September, I host a big picnic for Johnny Appleseed Day, and I make everybody wear red. And if you guys talk to Mrs. Brooks again, you should let her know that she is invited to my picnic if she's ever in Chicago. After that, you had on Mrs. Harp. Mrs. Harp was, I believe, in the second grade whenever I was at John Tyson, and I loved her class. Unfortunately, my most poignant memory of that class is accidentally knocking down her bookshelf. She had a cardboard bookshelf, and I accidentally knocked down all the books one day. So very ashamed of that one still. And finally, you had on Mrs. Caldwell. Ms. Caldwell, yesterday, I listened to that episode, and at the end, she said to tell me hello. So I heard that. Hi, Ms. Caldwell. And my favorite memory with Ms. Caldwell was she brought in a green screen. Do you guys know what that is?
Yes.
Yeah, she brought in a green screen, and she took me and a few other students, and she would make these really cool video projects with us, and that was so much fun. And so I was so excited to hear all of these guests that you brought on. It was really fun for me.
We love that.
It's so fascinating.
Yeah. So about myself, I won't say too much. I live in Chicago now. I went to John Tyson Elementary School for all 6 years, from the year 2000 to 2006, and I had an amazing time. I love to read. That's my favorite hobby. And I started that mostly at John Tyson. I spent many days reading there, sometimes reading during class, which was not always appreciated, but that school helped foster a love for reading in me.
Wow.
What years were you at John Tyson Elementary School?
I started there in the year 2000, and I went all the way to 2006.
Wow, that's long.
Mm-hmm.
What is a lesson you learned at JTE that has helped you in life?
That's a great question. And I've been thinking about this one a lot. Let me ask you guys, have you guys ever been bowling?
Yes.
Have you ever put up the rails on the side?
No.
No? Okay, well, you know the gutter, right? If you miss, the ball goes in the gutter.
Yes.
Well, did you know you can actually put up rails on the side of the bowling alley? That way your ball doesn't fall into the gutter. You can actually do that.
I didn't know.
Yeah, well, you can. And if you go bowling and you put up those rails, it's sometimes not as fun because, the whole goal is to throw your ball nice and straight the way it hits the pins. But if you put up the rails, it makes it easier, but your ball might bounce off the rails from side to side all the way down the alley until it hits the pins at the end. And, well, that doesn't really impress anybody. That doesn't make you a better bowler, even though it makes it a bit easier. And as I've gone through life, after I've left John Tyson, I found that everywhere you go, there are rules and laws, whether it's for your family, your job, your country, everywhere. And if you follow all of these rules, you follow every law, that doesn't necessarily make you a better person. When I was at John Tyson Elementary School, they had these character words hanging, these banners hanging all over the school with words like compassion, integrity, perseverance, courage. Are those banners still hanging up all over the school?
No.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, when I was there, those banners were everywhere. And the principal was named Mrs. Malone. And she made a big effort to teach us these words. These words she called character attributes. And every month she would come on the loudspeaker, the intercom, and she would talk about a student who had shown an example of integrity or compassion. And she really tried during my 6 years there to instill in us these character traits, which is really what I've taken with me from that school, and I've taken with me across my whole life because I've spent every month there remembering her teaching us what perseverance is, what integrity is, what compassion is. And that has really been probably the greatest lesson I learned from John Tyson, because as I mentioned earlier, everywhere you go, there's rules and there's laws, but just following the rules and following the laws doesn't necessarily make you a better person. However, trying to show these character traits, these excellent character traits, that I found is the best way to really live your life, no matter if it's within your family or your job or your country. Having integrity, having compassion. And I made the bowling analogy because I think of those rails when you're bowling as the rules and laws of life, and they don't make you a better bowler. Following these character traits, that to me is like rolling the ball straight down the alley and hitting the pins. So I know that was a bit of a long one, but that's probably the best lesson I learned at John Tyson.
I like that.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Thanks.
What is your favorite JTE memory?
That's a tough one because I have so many great memories at John Tyson Elementary School. It was such a great time for me. I probably would say my favorite memory was first and second grade. I actually had the same teacher, Mrs. Keene. I don't know if she's still there, but
she actually is. She's my 5th grade teacher right now.
Is she really? Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, I had her when I was in the first and second grade, and she was just an amazing teacher. And when I was in the first grade, she had this loft in her classroom. And anytime we finished our lesson early, she would let me go and climb up in the loft with a book and just read for the rest of the day or read during recess. And I really, really loved doing that. That was so much fun. That's probably my favorite memory from the school.
That's a nice memory. Why is JTE special to you?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you guys like Harry Potter?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I do too. And in my mind, John Tyson Elementary School is like my Hogwarts. It was a magical school, and it's the very beginning of my story. I have so many fun, exciting memories from my time there, and I feel like the staff really, really made an effort to create a special environment, and I loved being there. And so when I left that school, I feel like I was in many ways the person I still am today. And I'm thankful for that school for being the beginning of my story.
That sounds very special.
Our school mascot is the tiger. If you were a tiger, what sound would you make?
Okay, this is going to be loud, okay? Cover your ears. Meow.
I like that.
Oh, thank you.
Our East program started a campaign to spread positivity. What is the best way you know to spread positivity?
The best way that I know to spread positivity is to remember people's names. As you grow up, you're going to hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm not very good at remembering names. I'm not very good with names. But nobody's born good with names. You have to make an effort. Whenever you hear someone's name, it's easy to forget it quickly. And remembering their name is just an easy way to show you care about them. It makes them feel valued. So I would say just remember people's names.
That is an awesome way to spread positivity.
Thank you for sharing your golden story with us.
Of course.
Once a tiger, always a tiger.
Now it's time for a tiger tee-hee.
The tiger tee-hee is the time when we tell you a joke to make you laugh because we think the world needs more laughter.
Since you live in Chicago, the Windy City, we have a wind joke for you.
All right, let's have it.
What is the gust of wind's favorite color?
The gust of wind's favorite color? I don't know.
Blue.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Nice one, Gabby.
Up next, we will hear another golden story from former JTE student, Miss Meredith Boogaart.
Tiger, talk to you later. Roar!